Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be going over the Olight I5R EOS in copper. This is the box that it comes in. This is the back, sides. This is a AA 14500 light, so it uses two battery types, which is why I was interested in this light when they had it on sale. We're going to go ahead and open up the box and see what's inside. Here we have the box opened. We have the manual, the USB charging cable for the battery, the i5R and the battery inside, and we have the instructions on how to remove the insert inside the i5R. Here we have the i5R EOS outside of the packaging. We can see here it has the standard pocket clip that comes from Olight's. We have a reversible pocket clip here. On the back we have a boot cap with a plastic housing around the sides and a textured rubber bottom part. Flipping it over, we have a TR reflective optic, glass lens, and an LED I'm not sure of. They didn't list it in the specifications, so I'm not sure what kind of LED is inside the light. But it does look similar to the i5T LED, which is a cool white. Let's take off the cap here and look at the threads. We have an O-ring here, and then we have some threading on the copper cap with a pretty sturdy spring. Inside we have the sight into the electronics of the head. Let's put that together and screw that back. Some more specifications on the light here is that it has a high runtime of 350 lumens for about 10 minutes. Then it goes down to 43% of the 350 lumens to about 170 minutes of runtime. And then we have a secondary mode, which is 15 lumens for 37 hours. It has a beam distance of 64 meters. Water rating of IPX8, drop rating 1.5 meters. Length is going to be 3.76 ounces by a diameter of 0.7 inches. And then we have the weight, which is 104 grams by 3.67 ounces. I made a mistake before. It's 3.76 inches for the length. So that is the light. Let's compare it to the i5T real quick here. As you can see in my hand, it's almost exactly the same in terms of the size and diameter, and even with the LEDs inside, even the rear tail caps too. Although, yeah, they look just about the same. This one might be a hair thinner, the clicky switch. So that's the i5T and the i5R. Another comparison would be to the Skillhunt E2A. Now this light is a little bit smaller than the i5R, and we have a difference of the lens up there, although this might be a fatter head than the i5R. And of course the switch is a little bit different. This can also tail stand as well. And another note on this is that this also runs on AA batteries and or a 14500 3.7 volt battery. This will run on alkalines, nickel metal hydrides, and the included 2.4 volt 14500 type of battery. Now you want to be careful not to mix a 3.7 volt battery with a 2.4 volt one with this particular light, because you might cause some damage or have it malfunction. So let's go ahead and get some beam shots of this light here. Okay, we're back shooting at an aperture of 6.3. ISO is going to be 2500 with a temperature balance of 5500, 24 frames per second on a Panasonic GH2. Here's the i5R on low mode. We're about almost 2 feet off the table here, up by the camera. Let's go to high mode here. And we have the i5T in the center of the table there for reference. Back to low mode. So as you can see, it's a nice hot spot here with a nice smooth diffusion out to the edges. You can't see it on the camera, but there's a slight green tint to my particular model here. So it might look up a little bit different on the temperature balance on the camera, but there's a slight green tint to my light here. I don't mind that as much, as I know this is not going to be a high CRI type of light. Let's pick up the i5T and give a comparison to low mode on the i5T's LED emitter. This is low on the i5T, and they're almost the same brightness. To my eyes, the i5R looks a little bit less bright than the i5T, and they're being held up by about the same distance for reference. Let's do high again on the i5R. And we'll do that for the i5T as a comparison. This is what the beam looks like on the table profile. So you can see the coloration here, and then the sides have a different type of color as well. And then at the very extreme edges, you can kind of see how the copper light's reflecting off of that. We're back shooting an aperture of 3.5, 24 frames per second, and ISO 2500 with a white balance of 5500 Kelvin on a Panasonic GH2. Here's the light on low mode in my hand in front. And then we have the high mode. We have a rock and tree in the distance there at about 20 feet or so. The tree is about 25 feet, 26 feet out. I'm going to go ahead and take a walk and leave the light on high here. This is on low mode. High mode. Some final thoughts on the Olight I5R EOS. I think it's a fantastic light for its form, size, and factor, and compared to the i5T, it definitely offers some upgrades. It's very similar to the i5T. If you're looking for just a AA light, this is a good light for you. If you have the i5T and you're just looking for a AA light, I'd say keep the i5T, unless you want that extra brightness output in the same form factor via a proprietary battery. Now, the battery itself uses a USB-C charging cable and a USB-C port, which I find is a very good thing. It's universal, and it's the newer type of port that's out. But the issue with that is that it's a 2.4 volt battery. I'm having trouble understanding why other lights, such as the Skillhunt E2A, uses a 3.7 volt 14500 battery, and it's rechargeable. And yet, Olight has a proprietary 2.4 volt battery. I'm going to have to disagree on that choice of battery. Maybe it's because it's a marketing thing, or they have some batteries in stock, or the limitations of the engineering part, perhaps. But still, I think for something this size, you could probably have made that a little bit more modular. So I'll go ahead and put that under my thoughts as a con of the light. That being said, you do get an included battery with the light, so that is good. And it does offer some decent runtimes compared to the i5T, and also output brightnesses. Now, another thing that I think that they could improve is, again, perhaps they could have a different type of LED offering, perhaps a SST20 in high CRI with a more neutral white tone, or maybe a niche type of emitter, perhaps. But then again, that applies to most Olight products that I have. That's not to say this light isn't bad at all. I think it's a very good light for its money and cost. If you got it on sale, consider yourself lucky. But it's a decent buy and a decent gift. And plus, I like copper, frankly. So this is a very affordable copper collectible light if you're into collecting copper lights. So that's a pro. The tail cap, the clicky switch, which I prefer, is most definitely a good thing. A negative would also be probably not being able to tail stand the light. But that's not so much of a big deal for me, as there's workarounds to that. Overall, I think the light is a decent buy. I'm glad that they upgraded the mode part. The i5T used to have this ramping mode, which had a delay to change brightnesses. I personally did not mind that. I actually preferred that in some ways. But now that I have an instant access to different modes, that's kind of a nice small upgrade they did to it, if you want to look at it that way. Again, not too much of a big deal for me, but I know that it was probably a big deal to a lot of other people. Overall, I'd recommend this light if you're looking for a collectible copper light that uses two types of batteries, which is still a plus, even though the second type of battery, the 14500 2.4 volt battery, is proprietary. You can use alkalines and AA's in this light, so that increases the versatility and usage of this light here. So that's all I have to say about the i5R EOS. Thanks for watching.